Thank you for tuning in and welcome to ciLiving. I'm your host, Tommy Bickham. You might have heard of lake effect snow, but what exactly is that? Adam Sherwinski is joining me for this week's Ask Your Meteorologist to teach you all about it. Adam, thanks for being here.
Yeah, Tommy, it's not very often we get lake effect snow here in central Illinois. I mean, that was a band that stretched all the way down into pretty much the heart of our viewing area. And the thing is that you were just mentioning Bloomington really didn't get any snow.
Yeah.
We got a bunch there in Beaverville and in Watsika, and the closer you got to the lake, obviously. But even in Champaign, we got a good amount of snowfall. We really didn't see that here when you went too far to the east, too far to the west. Very typical of a lake effect band. And you're probably thinking, okay, you keep saying lake effect. What is lake effect?
Yeah, how does that work?
This process is different than what we have with our synoptic scale storms. We have a low pressure system coming in. All right, we have that low coming in. We kind of look on the back side of that low. The northwest side of it is where we look for the snow, right? Mm-hmm. That's how we typically do it here in central Illinois. Not so much when we have lake effect. Now, really cool. I grew up with lake effect because I lived in northwest Indiana where our source of water was for lake effect. Mm-hmm. You get windy cold air coming over a relatively warm lake and you're thinking, well, Lake Michigan's not that warm. It's not bubbling. It's not boiling.
Right.
But it's much warmer than that air above, right? We're going from air that's well below freezing to a body of water that's in its 50s, 60s. Remember, water takes a long time to cool down. So from now till about the beginning of January, prime time for the water that we have on Lake Michigan to cause lake effect to happen there for western Michigan, for northwest Indiana, and for New York as well. Buffalo is another big spot, and Grand Rapids, Michigan, also areas well known for getting lake effect, and Marquette too. I talked to Mitchell about that. Mitchell Reif, he knows about the Marquette snow. They can get a bunch of it here. So we have that air, and as we know, warm air rises, right? It condenses, becomes clouds, and as it moves over land, especially a cold area of land, you're going to see it turn over to snow. Now, when it comes to precipitation, if the air is a little bit warmer here, we'd switch over from that to rain, but it's completely cold. Remember, we've got that cold air streaming on in, and that's what causes lake effect here. So it's really a rare process here because, I don't know if you know this, Lake Michigan's a little bit of a hike from here, right?
Really far away. How did it get all the way down here, Adam?
So the interesting thing is that we had their winds in a good spot to have a fetch coming in from the north and east. And really what a fetch is, it's not just a term that you use on Mean Girls.
I love that.
See, they're always like, oh, trying to make fetch happen. Fetch does happen, actually, in meteorology. It's kind of funny.
I didn't know that.
So you need a fetch of about 60 miles or so to get it. So you don't get it for your little lakes. Lake Clinton wouldn't be able to do it, or Kaufman Lake over there on the other side of town. Yeah, you couldn't get it with those. You need big bodies of water. Okay. That's why the Great Lakes are usually the ones that cause that. They're the culprits there. When you have your lake effect, though, you need a fetch of about 60 miles here, roughly. Winds coming from that direction here. We had enough of a northeast flow for that to happen here. And so, again, we don't really get a lot of northeast flow when we have that kind of setup here. So we had enough that it would hit Chicago and then drive down south. And it was just strong enough of a cold air mass and strong enough of a kind of a setup there that we could see it all the way in central Illinois. And then we got a little bit of a mesolow also that came off of it too, which that does happen. You can get these little like low pressure systems that form off of the lake just because of the difference between how warm the lake is, how cold the air is. These little mesolows that come through and kind of enhance things. They can often cause blizzards too as well. I've had experience in college with that. I remember when I was in college, we had lake effect snow, and they're like, hey, this is turning into a blizzard. We have a mesolow that's forming, and we canceled class, which normally we don't cancel class at Valparaiso University when it snows. The meteorology kids were all excited because, oh, man, snow. We got weather. We're not even going to class. We're talking about weather. I remember during that blizzard also walking through not downtown Valpo, but going the opposite direction of campus to go get some Chipotle, and it was not worth it. It was not worth it. And my roommate's like, we'll just get some Chipotle, no big deal. And we went to go get Chipotle, and I don't know if I'm using air quotes, but went to go get Chipotle. We actually did go get Chipotle, and I just remember walking back and just covered in snow, and my pants couldn't stay up because it was just so covered in snow.
Well, you got a story. My parents always said, I walked back and forth uphill to school in 17 inches of snow.
So
75 inches.
Right, and Beaverville, far in the northeast corner of our viewing area there in Iroquois County, they got 10 inches of snow. Hard to say 5 times fast. 10 inches of snow. Mom and Dad, I actually called my mom. I said, how much snow did you get? And she's like, about a foot of snow. So, and they live in Northwest Indiana too.
Yeah, that's why. It was one little line.
Yeah.
It was, and you could almost drive around it.
Yeah, they're very thin bands too, and that's the coolest thing about them is that the university I went to always got hit by lake effect when I was a freshman in college. Always had lake effect snow my freshman year all the way up until through April, and it was those little streams you would just see coming right off the lake, and that's basically what it looks like if you look on satellite and radar from above. You just see those little thin bands coming through.
Unbelievable.
And it's again that cold air going in that warm water and turning into snow.
And it doesn't always get down here to Champaign.
No, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think I've seen it as far south on radar before, near Lafayette. Granted, that's Indiana to Indiana, not Illinois to Indiana, but still, it's really rare to see, and that's all because we had that northeast flow that worked. Very rarely do we get that here, and that's what causes Chicago to sometimes get lake effect, but rarely do we get this far south. So this was an intense system, and I don't know about you, but I thought it was really cold yesterday too.
Yes.
I mean,
the wind hitting my face, man, that was tough.
It was a taste of winter. I think it kind of it was kind of our first big taste of winter, first big test of winter too.
Yeah.
And it's only November. We're not even close to
just
the end
started
of the
November.
We just started November. So yeah, really cool to see. Again, I grew up with lake effect. I wouldn't call myself a lake effect expert, but I do have a lot of experience with it because that usually dictated whether we were going to have school or whether we were not going to have school. Where's that lake effect going to go? Did Valpo get more? Did we get more in Maryville? Did Gary get more? Did South Bend get more? So
yeah, it was a wild day dealing with that snow. Great start to the week. Well, Adam, thank you so much for teaching us all about lake effect snow. And if you have any questions for Adam, you can email him at Sherwinski@WCIA.com, or you can find us on social media.